Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And one time I saw Elvis at a Shoney's in Cartersville. So, TEMUGEDDON is upon us. It's episode 4 of the Temu edition of Superbudget Showdown. And of course, this is my quest to find the best knife I can for 15 bucks or less. This time it's all from Temu. We're going to separate out the cream of the crap. And ground rules for this, as always, are it's got to be 15 bucks or less. It's got to have a pocket clip. It's got to be tip up, and it's got to have a locking mechanism. And that locking mechanism's for safety. That tip up carry is to give it the best possible chance it can have at being a good knife for me. And the wife picked out almost all of these, and those 4 requirements make it hard. She was scrolling from like 45 minutes to 2 hours just to find one viable candidate for days. And some clones may show up. All right, we sent back everything we could identify as a clone until we just ran out of time. So if they do show up, I apologize. I did what I could. But if you remember, episode 1, this thing took 10th place. This thing is still garbage. It is worse than mistaking a colostomy bag for a Capri Sun. It's one of the worst knives I've ever touched. This one took 2nd. It did pretty decent outside of the pocket clip issue. And this one took 1st place solely off of 300 cuts on Cardboard Slayer and still going fairly strong. But this week we're going in on this guy right here. And I have no branding, I have no specs, I don't know the blade steel. All I know is the scales are steel, they are very heavy. She's got some gravity to her. It's a flipper tab, let's flick the bean. Laser etched fake Damascus with a Browning logo lasered in the middle of it for reasons that are beyond my ability to guess. The box wasn't marked as Browning. No other branding was there. Nothing. So I don't know if this is just one of those where they made a huge run with a bunch of different BS on it and then said, screw it. I really don't know why that's there. It doesn't seem like they're trying to pull off a fake. They may have just left the settings on from another run of fakes and just said, screw it, we're not going to fix it. But you got a liner lock here, and the action after using it for a while, it's pretty smooth. It does fall shut. The first problem shows up with this thing with the pocket clip. And you can see right here, it's not really fixed. It's not recessed in anything. It's just screwed down flat to the steel scales. But it is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It's not a deep carry at all. You see how much space you have between the top of the pocket clip and the ass end of the knife here. And that, whenever my shirt would come untucked at work, I'd have to fight it over the top of this thing from this side and get it under here. And it took a lot of effort to do that. Which is something I didn't expect to see. Your blade isn't perfectly centered, but it's centered well enough to not impede function. And, this thing, it carried okay. Like, this was a very familiar feeling carry. Like, you've seen most of the knives that I really gravitate towards are moderns that are shaped kind of like this. And, that part was really comfortable and familiar. Now, I have seen in the comments a couple of times on this knife specifically that, it's a clone of a Strider. And I went and looked at that Strider, and it's not 100%. Like, it's not a clone. However, it is getting very close to one. They changed enough stuff on it, or arrived at this accidentally, that it's not a clone, but it's really close. So, yeah. I carried this at work, and for the first day or so, the saran wrap cut, which, if you haven't heard me say it before, cutting saran wrap off of pallets, when you hit that single layer at the bottom, it's pulled pretty tight, but if you've got a good edge, it blasts through it like you're cutting water, like no resistance whatsoever. If you've got edge problems, it'll hang up and tear, and it's not a clean cut by any stretch of the imagination. You will feel every edge problem you have. The first 2 or 3 cuts out of the box, this thing did good with it. I know I did a few things with it, but after that first 3 or 4 cuts, it was done. It wasn't doing the saran wrap cut anymore, so I'm guessing there was a small burr on the edge I had to work off. I'm not entirely sure. And of course, Cardboard Slayer. I pushed this thing through 200 cuts, and the cardboard I used was this stuff right here. You can see where it's like a double layer, and I really pushed it through 200 cuts. And the last take, this thing didn't do so hot on the copy paper. Let's see how it does this take. You can see it is definitely struggling now. It's no longer a clean factory edge. And yeah, there's edge problems ahoy. So the fact that it took that much is a bit of a pleasant surprise. Like, I haven't really gone into this expecting more than about 50 to 75 cuts. And after this one took around, I think, 35 cuts before it started showing major problems. I think it was 50, but either way. I was thoroughly impressed by this taking 300, but this going through about 150 without showing any huge edge degradation issues. This one going through 200 and finally starting to give up the ghost makes this a lot less impressive. While I was doing Cardboard Slayer, I developed really bad hot spots right here and right here. That being said, it took about 130 to 150 cuts before they started showing up, so if you're doing something sane, you'll probably find the ergos to be adequate. I mean, I had to really push it to start getting hot spots, so I can't really dock too many points for that. It was just interesting that it showed up. And again, the comfort, I'd give this about an 8 out of 10 for the comfort to carry. It was just heavy. It's got some gravity to it. So, where are we going to put this thing? I think we're going to bump this thing to second place because this one right here, if you remember, this pocket clip hit my hand non-stop right here, and these edges aren't broken down really well. It was like getting hit with a sharp corner. If it was any less broken down, it probably would have cut me eventually, but it didn't. Thank God for small favors. So we're going to give this one second place right here. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover on this. It wasn't all that bad. Like, the best way to describe it is unremarkable. There was nothing outside of the issue of the ass end sticking up this much farther than the end of the pocket clip that was really a problem with it. You know, I am okay with this. I'm pretty sure it can be taken down, you know, because these two are kind of the second place placeholders because we still got 6 more to go. But for the time being, that's got a strong second place. And this one, if the pocket clip would have been better, this probably still would have held second. And I'm waiting to see what knocks this out. If I find something nicer and I push it, and there's no pocket clip, no hot spotting, nothing like that, this is going to go down. And I really didn't want that to freight train the entire field right out of the gate on the second knife. So the more I'm learning about Cardboard Slayer, the better this is getting for the whole field. And I can see where I've got some gaps in my knowledge. Like I started this one, it went in, couple clean cuts, started tearing. Couple clean cuts, started tearing, which is probably an edge alignment issue. But, you know, with a really good edge and really good edge retention, it would just slice right through no matter what. This one didn't have the geometry. This didn't have the geometry. This did. It had better geometry, but it still had some problems. But, you know, that's a whole bunch of rambling for no good reason. All that being said, though, thanks for looking at my crap. We're eventually going to separate the cream of the crap. First place will be interesting. I'm going to come back and show you the preview for next week's knife in a few minutes here. But, again, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys keep showing up. It's awesome. I love it. It is very humbling. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me have it. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.